Is it Kevin Canales? Are we saying this correctly?
No, not at all. You almost got one of the names right. His name's Kaleb Canales.
Caleb.
Yeah.
Caleb Canales.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
This guy is now the coach. What do you know about him? What do we need to know about him?
Kaleb is the coolest dude ever. I mean, if you met 100 people, if you were just to go and I don't know, I don't want to say like a blind date, speed dating or something like that, but if you were just going to randomly meet 100 people at a mixer, I guarantee you that the one that you would remember would be Kaleb. He's that high energy, he's that positive, he's that optimistic about life. He's just nonstop. He's almost like he's on a caffeine high 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If you're going to tank and you're going to have somebody take a lot of losses and you're going to have somebody with the mentality of, I can't let this get me down, I've got to go on with my life, even if we're basically throwing away a month and a half of our lives to get a better draft pick, this is the guy you want to do it. He's very young. He actually started as an assistant coach at the high school level, worked his way up, ended up becoming a video coordinator basically through sheer hard work and just spamming the Blazers asking for a job. He worked his way up from the video room, cutting up tapes. He worked to player development, so he was able to help guys work on their moves. He's very close with LaMarcus Aldridge because they're both from Texas. So they bonded really as soon as LaMarcus was drafted, and he's really been instrumental in helping LaMarcus develop a lot of his post moves. But he didn't play at anything higher than high school level. He's about 5'10", 5'11". When he was in high school, he says he played power forward. So you could get an idea of his school district down in Laredo. I mean, they're not exactly breeding five-star athletes. But he's a really, really genuine guy. There's not a single person in the city who will say a negative thing about him. He's going to have a really hard stretch here, over the next month. But at the end of the day, he's a stopgap, and he will be a Blazers employee for a long time. I mean, no matter which coach they bring in as a full-time head coach, Kaleb will be on that staff. I'm certain that the Blazers value him that highly.
It's really interesting because one of the things that Kevin Arnovitz said to me about Vinny Del Negro was that, he did a great job last season of keeping a very bad team going, just trying and not completely checked out. This is something that Flip Saunders couldn't do with the Wizards, and it's also something that Scotty Brooks did, and I think a lot of people looked at Brooks as sort of a stopgap. And then he won the team over. He was able to push them through that 3-29 stretch where they turned it around. And eventually they ended up, making him the head coach. He's not the greatest head coach in the world, but he's a good leader for that team, and they all respect him. And I wonder if Canales could, potentially have a similar impact and a similar career path.
No, I think that, everyone realized at some point along the way, he is very similar to Monty Williams. Monty Williams was an assistant here in Portland. When you watch those guys coach the summer league teams, you watch how they interact with players, you watch the genuineness of those relationships that they're able to form, how much people trust him and rally around him. There's no question in anyone's mind that he was going to be a head coach one day. At the same time, he's 33. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like unquantifiable how crazy it is that he was able to step in, just however many years removed from being at the very bottom of the basketball operations totem pole to being a head coach. I mean, it could only happen in an insane set of circumstances. So do I expect him to be able to, keep these guys going? I mean, they've been checked out for a while. I mean, there's no two ways about it. They didn't get rid of all the problems. They still have Raymond Felton. Jamal Crawford now is going to be in a more comfortable situation for him, but he was a guy who was, potentially, going to be moving out of town. So, I mean, their roster is balancing a lot of tricky stuff. They killed their depth. Their bench is just terrible. Through three quarters against the Milwaukee Bucks, their bench was 0 for 20, a combined 0 for 20 for 1 point. And they were playing a lot of minutes. I mean, they're going 10 players deep in this rotation, right? So you can't put this on Kaleb and expect any sort of a normal, coaching experience here. I mean, it's not like he's going to be like, hey, gung-ho, let's rally the troops. He has to play Luke Babbitt and Craig Smith real minutes. We're not going to hold it against him at the end of the day. I expect him to be a assistant coach probably next season going forward, and certainly he's going to have a chance to be a head coach in his NBA because he's got 50 years of potential head coaching ahead of him.
Ben, last question. Just a quick one. Everyone, they made the moves on trade deadline day, fired Nate McMillan. Everyone thought, okay, they're tanking. Then they just picked up J.J. Hickson off waivers. Which one is a bigger sign of tanking? The fact that you would bring J.J. Hickson into your team, or that you would gut the franchise?
That move caught me by surprise. I'll tell you, knowing these guys, the front office has been around for so long, and their scouting and how they look at players, that not a lot surprises me when they do things anymore. The trades, there weren't a ton of rumors about Wallace and Camby this year, but they weren't totally surprising the way they were executed. The J.J. Hickson signing qualifies as a pretty good surprise. I mean, you look at, kind of has some situations coming out of Cleveland, so they move him. Then the situation in Sacramento, they just decide, basically cut ties, and he admits, the situation wasn't working. He told me last night. In terms, it comes off like a desperate play. It's like, God, we don't want to watch Luke Babbitt, Kurt Thomas, and Craig Smith play 20 minutes a night. We just can't handle it. Like, we have to have somebody else that we can throw in there because it's just too painful. I mean, that's kind of how I read that move. At the same time, he's young. I mean, they can sell him on it. I think the way they're looking at it is it's a no-risk, minimal reward kind of a situation, and at this point, they're desperate for whatever they can get. This team is really asset deficient because remember, they were making all these trades year after year to try to become a team that could go deeper into the playoffs. Then they lose Brandon Roy and Greg Oden and get absolutely nothing in return. So they're just trying to stockpile whatever they possibly can, piecemeal it together, and go forward. But I also got to say before I leave, I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, no Mary Sleep kill, Zach. I was preparing probably for 20 minutes. Trying to prioritize, and I got nothing from you.
20 minutes? That's longer than Zach prepared for this show.
Oh, God. I didn't even know what Take the Bacon was until right when we started.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ben. That was awesome. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, guys. Good talking to you.